This is a quick 2-year review of my Honda Civic Type R. This is a 2010 car, and the colour of this one is deep sapphire blue. I believe they only made this in sort of limited numbers because it was sort of the end of production. So I think there's 113 of these. I've just given it a very quick clean. Overall, I really like the car. It's a good little bit of kit. It's not the fastest thing on earth. A mate of mine works at Honda, and the standard 1.5 Sport, which is the turbo, is just as quick, which is a little bit sad, to be fair, that it's a basic sport model is as quick as sort of a 2010 top of the range car. But there you go, things move on. So what I've done to the car so far, coloured the brake calipers front and back, just to give it that, make it that much more aggressive. Obviously goes in with the badge. I've put clean number plates on, no surrounds, more spacing. I've left the wheels standard, but I've thought about changing these to Team Dynamics Pro Race 1.2s. A friend has them on his Type R, and they are nice looking wheels. When he goes to sell, maybe I'll see what I can do to purchase those off him. So going in the car, as I say, just giving it a clean. This stuff, Chemical Guys Stripper Scent, is the best smelling air freshener you'll ever try. The bottle's crap, it leaks everywhere, but it does smell really good. So actually, let's go in the boot. So, much is unchanged. It's all dribbling water because I haven't fully dried it yet. Decent sized boot, and you do have the sort of effective spare wheel well. I've had a couple of amps in here previously, so I did have a sub. I felt it was a little bit overkill. I needed the boot space, so I've now got a Hertz HCPD 750 watts, sorry, split amongst the two channels up front. I've left the sub wiring in here just because I thought it's useful to have. Quick detailer, microfiber cloth, umbrella, all the essentials. Nice thing about these Civics, which is quite useful, obviously the shelf comes out. You've got the split folding rear seats, but I'll show you this from the inside of the car. It's quite a clever way of actually doing this. So there is actually a big space under the seats, so as you pull the seat forward, they do fold flat, which is a really useful feature. It really opens the boot space out. I've been looking for that PS4 controller, I didn't know where it was, so I put that back up. This car has nearly done 40,000 miles. I bought it with 22, so in terms of condition it's still pretty much as new. I'm a bit of a stickler for detailing, and I like to keep things in as new condition. So this is one of the gripes of this car. Obviously these are the Recaro seats. They're not branded Recaro, but they are actually Recaro seats. But one of the real gripes is that every time you move the seat, it resets to the furthest back position, which, as you can imagine, gets annoying very quickly. So inside the car, it's fairly standard Honda. Lots of buttons, bit wacky. Standard, these come with a CD player. There is an auxiliary port in the armrest and a USB socket. I've made those redundant because I've put this Pioneer unit in. It's I can't remember, SPA 120 I think it is, but it's a fairly cheap unit. I had a £900 Kenwood unit, which was the top of the range at the time, and it was absolutely awful. It took 90 seconds before any music would come out. The maps were good because they were Garmin maps, but it was the slowest thing I've ever used. It was just unacceptable for the money it cost. I was persuaded by Sexton's in Portsmouth that the Pioneer unit is the one to have, just because it's simplicity, ease of use, and Apple CarPlay. So turn this on. Standard Honda. It's going to beep at me all day because I haven't got a seatbelt on while I'm in the driveway. So if I go through the menus, I don't know how far away this camera is going to be showing because I'm using a GoPro. So I've done 38,000 miles. As I say, I bought this at 22 2 years ago, so I've not done a huge amount of miles. You've got a mile per gallon, sort of, that's an on-the-fly calculation. How accurate that is, I don't know. Normally it sits about 25, 30-ish. So far across the 124 miles on this tank, I'm averaging 26.7, which I would say is probably about right. That's roughly where the car seems to sit. There are figures that these will get 34 to the gallon. I bought this in Scarborough, and it was a 300-mile journey back to Portsmouth, and I think I got 32 to the gallon by sitting on the motorway at 70, 75 miles an hour. So when they say 34 to the gallon, to be honest, it's bullshit. That is the figure that they're really going to get. Then you've got the miles till empty, so you normally get about 260, 280 miles to the tank. Well, I do. How long you've been driving for, don't know why you'd ever need that. And my average speed is 25. I'm an estate agent, so I'm doing lots of sort of smaller journeys. So you've got the standard dashboard up the top, you've got your speedometer. In the rev, when you're in VTEC, or at the top of VTEC, you get a couple of lights, sort of shift lights, and under here you get another dot to tell you to change gear. I have obviously changed the head unit, but I have incorporated the fact that I do still use this sort of on-screen display, because this used to show you radio stations, bits and pieces like that. All the air conditioning controls, or climate control, whatever it's got, still work as they should. And instead of having sort of radio stations and CD tracks and things, it now shows you the date, which I think is actually more useful. So I've got this Pioneer unit. As I say, this can do most things you need. You've got radio. That's really loud. Sorry about that, that's really loud. So radio, let me just turn the volume off. You've got 6 radio station presets as usual. I'm in Portsmouth, so these are the rubbish radio stations around here. You can go back to the home screen. You've got Bluetooth, you've got a USB stick, you've got HDMI in the back of this, so you can watch videos, play the sound through the stereo. And obviously the best feature is the Apple CarPlay on this. Let me just plug my my phone in. So as soon as that's plugged in, you get a little warning message, and it will give you the jargon, don't use your phone while you're driving, all this rubbish that no one really cares about. So Apple CarPlay, if I go back to the home on it, so it does run as your phone would. So I'm not going to go into my phone because it will show you all my contacts and they probably don't want to be on here, but music, as I say, displays as your phone would. You can also, I have Apple Music, so you can select stuff that's designed specifically for you. Personal mixes recently played, Sunday's playlist. You can browse all the new stuff on Apple Music, so top songs, top albums, curator playlists, Apple editors, and you've also got the Apple Music. You've also got the Apple radio stations as well. The best one is just, where is it? Dance. By far the best one on there, in my opinion. So, steering wheel controls still work. Channel up and down works. And mode, I can't remember what this does. Not an awful lot, I never use it, but it does do something when you're in, sorry, if you go out of Apple CarPlay, I think it does change things. I get a beep, but it does something, I don't know, I never used it. Cruise control, menu controls, obviously got the engine start button. I'm presuming that's headlight washers, I've never actually used it. You've got a VSA, stability assistance. Some people call them the hero buttons. You need to take those off most times when you're driving, because otherwise the stability control kicks in too much and it just kills all the power. Sadly, this is the model without the limited slip diff, so it was made in March, and I think it was all the ones in April 2010 came as standard with an LSD, which is a shame, but one of those things. So I've put a Skunk 2 racing gear knob on. I found that where it's sort of such a long throw, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to sort of get it in between third or second gear. So I put this on. This is a much heavier weighted gear knob, so I think this is 440 grams, whereas the standard one's about 200. So it's twice as heavy as and it just means it does pop it into gear a lot easier. Further gripes with this car, I don't know if you can see when I show you in the mirror, when you look in the back, when you're trying to reverse, you've got huge pillars at the back, and also the spoiler does go right through the middle of your vision. The only good thing about this is when you're driving at night and you've got cars behind you, that is absolutely where the headlights are, so you don't ever get dazzled. Someone can sit behind you with their sort of full beam on and it won't bother you at all. Further things, the horn is rubbish, which is a shame. It needs something a little bit more beefy in there. So I've also, as I say, changed the speakers with the amp in the back. So I've got Hertz speakers which I've integrated into the doors, and there's also Hertz 17cm speakers in the door there. Overall, I do like the car. It struggles to put the power down in the wet. It's around 200 horsepower. I have put an induction kit on this. I've put an HSK, RSK, I think it is. So it's an open cone filter. Makes a lot of noise, but it does give you a couple of little flat spots in the rev range, especially sort of at the lower RPM. In the VTEC, you wouldn't notice it, but because you're infatuated with the noise. But sort of lower down the rev range, between sort of 1,000 and 2,500 RPM, it is a bit of a pain because it does make the car a little bit juddery, and there's, as I say, a few flat spots with this. So, oh sorry, with this head unit, I have also put sort of hands-free in with this. See, always good to put the proper oil in from the right supplier. So I use Fuchs Titan Pro Race S oil, 540W, which seems to be the right stuff for the car. I don't really know much about oil, but that's what it says on the tin. Lubricates the engine. Down the bottom here, with my feet, you do have lights that stay on the entire time. They don't get turned off at all, and you've got your petrol cap and bonnet release. I'll show you in the bonnet. Something you do notice when you sit in these, they beep at you if you leave the key in the ignition. You can turn up to somewhere. As soon as you open the door, it's beeping at you to say you've left the key in the ignition, which is pretty obvious because you've just driven here. So, and again, as soon as you sit in the car, it wants you to put the seatbelt on instantly. So here's the engine bay. I had to change the battery, so I've put a Varta battery in, and you've got the HKS. My mistake. I got the letter the wrong way around. So it's an open cone filter, and I have got the red heat shield in there as well. That is an extra 50 quid or so. I've put these, I was missing a couple of these, even though I bought it from a dealer, and supposedly a one-owner car. Well, it is a one-owner car. There was a couple of them missing, so I found these on eBay. MJC Automotive, bought them blue. It's pretty much the same blue as the rest of the paintwork on the car, so just shut that, have another little walk around the car. I think on the last video I did, I've got a TVR Tamora, and I had a spare set of wheels for it, so I had the wheels of those on the TVR Spiders, which it looked alright. They're a little bit wider, so it had a sort of a better track, but I've decided it was better to put the standard wheels back on. Trying to think what else really. The Team Heckos, the wind deflectors, supposedly they look cool, so I fitted them, and yeah, it's overall it's a lovely car. I am going to get rid of this sort of later in the year. I want something a little bit more, I say grown up. I'm looking for maybe a BMW M135, Audi RS3, something along the lines of that. I've never had a car with a turbo, bar the Bentley, but I don't think that really counts. So something with a a bit more of a fun engine. So probably the M135, as I think the Audi RS3 is a bit of a, I don't know, I think they're meant to understeer, so, and not be an awful lot of fun. So anyway, any questions on the video, anyone wants to know anything about this particular car or these Civics in general, just comment on my video below, and I'll do everything I can to sort of get back to you on them. As I say, I've owned this for 2 years, and yeah, overall brilliant car, but there are a couple of niggles with them. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Bye.